Okay, so today I have not one, but two unboxings to do. And the reason for it is I have two Commodore 64s in the box. The first one here has a very nice box. It's in very good condition, but it's a newer system and it's slightly different than the older one. Now, box-wise, the only difference I can find on the box, other than who sold it, is down here. It actually says CPM is a registered trademark for digital research. And in this area where it says new from Commodore, they added a little bit of a tagline after the 64 Memory Plus. It says CPM option for your business, education, and professional use. So other than that, I can't really see any differences between the boxes. Now, this box is in a little bit better condition than the box you can't see over here. I could show the box really quickly, but I'm going to focus on this box because I want to take a look at what they did with the advertising, how they presented the system specifications and things like that. So I'm going to take the old box, move it out of the way, and we'll just focus on this one here. So to get started, on the top we have the Commodore 64, the personal computer with professional power. Now what's interesting is at the time when the Commodore 64 first came out, it was a powerful computer. There was no IBM compatibles at the time. We did have the Apple II line, but I believe at the time it was 48K, where the Commodore 64 came with the 64K. It was a very capable computer. This particular one was purchased at Kmart for $149. When we look at the front here, not much other than a nice graphic of the Commodore 64. One thing to note is this would have been very early production Commodore 64 computer, where you just had Commodore on this side with the badge, and on the right it said 64. I don't know if they actually looked like this or if it was close to this, but even on the newer, this is a newer box, it has the same picture here. On the side, we've got the technical specifications. It says user memory is 64 kilobytes, permanent memory 20K bytes of ROM. Microprocessor is the 6510, which is 6502 compatible. The keyboard, 66 key full stroke 4 function keys. Character colors and pet graphics selectable directly from the keyboard, which is a very nice feature, especially for those who aren't the best programmers in the world like myself. And it gives you full cursor control. Well, what they're not telling you is only two of the keys give you full cursor control, which makes the Commodore 64 a little bit different than most computers out there. For the display, we've got 40 column by 25 line, 16 text colors, independent foreground and background colors, user programmable characters, 320 by 200 high resolution mode, 16 colors available simultaneously, 256 independently movable display objects. These display objects they're talking about, these are sprites. Let's see here, it's a 21 by 24 pixels each with up to 8 per line. So you can basically have 8 sprites and you can multiplex them. And you could have 8 of them on a line, but you could add more. And I think that would be very CPU intensive and it would slow it down dramatically. I don't think that most games use more than 8 sprites, but I may be wrong. Sound, we have 3 independent voices. So what's really significant about the sound on the Commodore 64 is I believe it was the first personal computer to come with a built-in music chip or music synthesizer. So it was pretty significant having that. So it's 3 voices, 9 octaves. You have 4 waveforms which you can program. You've got the sawtooth, triangle, and variable pulse and noise. You can program in the attack, delay, sustain, and release. It also has programmable filters. So you can do low pass, high pass, band pass, notch outputs, and master volume control. Now I think with the Commodore 64, I'm not sure, but the master volume control I think controlled all 3 voices at the same time, but I may be wrong. Your interfaces, you've got 4 joysticks, 4 game paddles, or excuse me, 2 joysticks, 4 game paddles. This is kind of misleading because you really only have 2 joystick ports, but each port can control up to 2 paddles. You can do a light pen, the Commodore cassette interface, the Commodore serial bus, 8-bit user port, built-in RF modulator, direct audio and video outputs, and carriage interface, or excuse me, and a cartridge interface. So here we've got a couple of pictures from the Commodore Advanced Research. So Commodore was significant that they actually developed their own processors. They kind of cheated because they bought MOS Technology, so that became Commodore's Advanced Research. That was also the 6502 processor was significant, and that it was much cheaper than the competition, which gave us competition to the Commodore 64, such as the Atari line and the Apple line, and several computers that were built on the MOS Technology 6502 processor. Okay. Here at the top of the box, we've got a pretty nice looking picture here of a guy working on his Commodore 64. And on the side over here, we've got the Commodore 64, an expandable computer system, plus advanced high-resolution color graphics, professional music and sound synthesis, 3 independent voices, each with 9-octave range, 64K memory power. So we've got our control ports on the side, power switch and power connector, cartridge slot, the RF output, audio-video connector, the serial port, and the interface cassette and the user port. So to me, this picture of this cartridge looks far wider than what is actually on the Commodore 64. So we'll take a look at that. Okay, on the back we've got Commodore 64, the complete computer system. Got a nice picture over here with the Commodore 64, and it looks like an Apex monitor, dot matrix printer, and a cassette player, cassette recorder. I actually have a video of an unboxing of these. This is an earlier VIC 1540 disk drive, which was developed for the Commodore VIC-20, was compatible on the 64. So they're saying you've got your professional business apps, spreadsheet calculations, financial planning, word processing, mailing lists, inventory, forecasting, and accounting, communication, comparative phone shopping, interesting, electronic encyclopedia services, terminal to mainframes, electronic mail, news services, and stock quotes. Imagine that. Education, computer literacy, computer-assisted instruction, personal learning, and industrial training, test management, simulations, and laboratory controls. And then we've got entertainment. This is the big one. We've got easy plug-in cartridges, arcade games, strategy games, educational games, fantasy games, self-improvement series, music instruction, music composition, and music synthesis. Definitely had all of that. Let's take a look at the bottom. Again, looks like the same image that we have, well, similar to the one on the top. So that's it for the outside of the box. Let's take a look at the inside of the box. So inside here, I've got my RF switch box right there. And I've got the cable that you would use to connect from the RF switch box to the computer. I do have the power supply, I just don't have it in this box because it's very heavy, and I just kind of put the boxes away, oftentimes take the power supplies out. This is a little flyer for Commodore magazines. So with, let's see, we've got Commodore Power and Play and Commodore Microcomputer magazines. I've never actually seen either of these magazines, so it'd be kind of fun to see, to take a look at those. So you can order, let's see here, Power Play for $10 per year, or this one, or I can't understand this. Please sign me up for so many years. Okay. So anyhow, you can get these. Commodore Power Play is $10 and Commodore something is $15 a year. All right. I should mail this in and see what happens. Got our authorized warranty lists of, so if I was, let's take a look. Got all the states, and you can find the service centers for the Commodore. So quite a few. You're all gone now. Here's a Commodore 64 user's manual. Now, this system is a little bit newer than my original Commodore 64. This manual is a little bit different. I think internally, oh, actually it looks a little different than what I remember. But the thing about the Commodore 64 is it actually came with pretty good guides that would really help you get set up with your Commodore computer. Let's see here. I want to see what year, if it has a year on here. Published by Commodore. Oh, jeepers. I don't see a year. Okay, copyright 1984 by Commodore. So this is a little bit older. There's an interesting story here. They've got Commodore Basic version 2, copyright 1982 by Commodore, copyright 1977 by Microsoft. There is an interesting story out there on the web someplace. I believe they were interviewing Jack Tramiel, and he talked about how he got the best deal ever for BASIC from Microsoft. And so you'll have to look for it, see if you can find it. But it's really interesting how Commodore stuck to this old version of Microsoft BASIC for years and years and years because of the deal they worked out with Microsoft. But yeah, that's our basic manual. This one's definitely different than the one I remember that I grew up with. So we got basic programming language. It's pretty nice looking manual, but it's different than what I remember. I do remember playing around with the sprites. I did manage to get like what looked like a little balloon to travel across the screen. This one's got a smiley face. So there's some stuff on the music, a little bit on the screen map. Got more here. Here's your abbreviations of basic keywords. Yeah, so at one time Commodore, they published their own magazines, their own books, they had their software distribution, they did everything, but over time they started closing down those different divisions, I believe to save money, which was probably a huge mistake, and now we no longer have Commodore. So taking a look at the Commodore 64 itself, like I said, it's a Commodore 64. Commodore 64 is a Commodore 64, but one thing I noticed about this one in particular is the foam inserts are actually a little different than what I'm used to, but more so it's the case itself. What I noticed about this case is the Commodore 64 has kind of this rough texture that I can see here, and I always kind of liked it in a way, but on this particular case, it's smooth above this this line. This is all pretty smooth. It's not quite the same as some of my other Commodore 64s I've had, and I'll show you the other one. But one thing that's nice about it is where you rest your hand here, any kind of wear isn't going to wear out this rough pattern, so I think that might hold up a little bit better over time. This particular unit is quite nice. It's very clean. It does work. I'll probably be pulling it out later, but yeah, other than that, it's the same as pretty much any other Commodore 64 you'd see. Here's your control ports, your power input. One thing I never liked about the Commodore 64 is the location of the power plug. I always thought it would be better if they would have put it in the back. The switch on the side's really nice, but they should have put the connector in the back. Now, like I said, on the picture on the box, it has the cartridge port, which was huge. And I think that the reason is they base the case off of what you'd find on a VIC-20. So this is a very similar case to the VIC-20. The cartridge port is actually much, much smaller than what's shown in the picture on the box. Here we've got our channel selector, 2 or 3, RF out. This was used back in the day when monitors were very expensive, so you could buy your Commodore 64, plug it into any TV, and you could have your computer running. Our serial and our video outputs, one's for like disk drives, printers, the other one's for your monitor outputs. Looks like I've got my user port and my cassette port over on this side here. Now notice there's a difference here too. There's just the case comes and it closes along this seam. There's no indications of what these ports do. And my other case is a little bit different. Nothing on this side. And on the bottom we've got I always wondered, what the heck is this thing? This is where they would do the injection mold insert. And and then we've got our serial number here. So pretty nice computer, nice shape. It's got all the rubber feet and everything. Doesn't have any major scratches or anything like that. It does have a little nick right here. So at one time it took a little bit of a hit, but that's okay. It's a little bit of character. So that's my first Commodore 64. Oh, and here on the foam it has left. So it makes it a little easier for you to figure out which side to put your foam inserts on. So my first Commodore 64, for years after I bought the computer, when you'd open the box, you'd get hit with this new computer smell. It's like this styrofoamy plastic smell, and I miss that. You no longer get that now. So like when I open this computer, you don't smell anything. But I do miss the days. For years after I had gotten the Commodore 64, you'd open the box and you'd still smell, that new computer smell. Don't have that on this one. Here's my other Commodore 64. Again, like I said, slight difference here. It has a CPM, a little bit about CPM there. This one was purchased at Children's Palace for $149.90 something. So that just shows how pervasive the Commodore 64 was when Child's World sells the Commodore 64. I mean, you can buy these things at toy stores, you could buy them everywhere. This one doesn't have anything in here. I don't have the manual for this. I really wish I still had the old Commodore 64 manual. I do like the older one. It's pretty nice. Notice the foam inserts are much easier to take off of this machine. And another thing about this machine, looks exactly the same, functions exactly the same. The main difference with this guy is that the roughness in the plastic is uniform. So from here to down here, it's all the same. Again, this computer is in a nice condition. At first when I looked at it, I thought that it had yellowed, but I don't believe so. I think they just used a little bit of a I don't know, yellowy color, or browny color, I don't know. But you'll notice I've got white down here, and the L here is kind of a little bit different color. So I think this is the way it was when it was new, because I'm pretty sure this is painted on. This is not a double shot plastic keycaps. So keys on the Commodore 64, they're not the best in the world, but they're far from the worst. I have typed on worse keyboards than this. I can tell you this is much improved over the Commodore PET. Commodore PET is painful to type on because the keys are so stiff. This one, that's not too bad. It's a little, there's springs in there. It's not, it's very linear. It doesn't have any kind of snap to it or anything like that, but not too bad. Along here, exactly the same. But a difference here is they actually put in, we've got memory expansion, so they don't even call it cartridge port, it's memory expansion. We've got the HL, high-low, which would be channel 2, 3, RF, our video and our serial, our cassette, and our user ports. This case is in decent condition. It's got a little bit of scratching. This one definitely saw more use than the other one. I think the other machine spent most of its time in the box. This one actually got used and loved. It's exactly the same on the bottom. Got our injection mold scarring here. And there's our model number and serial number. Again, in nice condition. This computer, I believe it works fine, although I believe some of the memory is burned. So I'll probably be playing with this one in a short bit to do another video on video output options for the Commodore 64. So that's all I've got to show you for this video. This is just intended to be a quick look at the packaging of the original Commodore 64. I wish I had all the packaging materials that went inside, but I do have the box. And the nice thing about having the box with these old systems is the boxes, they do get ratty and tatty over time. There's just, unless you have like a nitrogen-filled environment, I think it'd be almost impossible to keep these things like new forever. But it does protect the computers on the inside. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If this is the kind of stuff you like, be sure to subscribe because I've got more coming. Take care, and I'll talk to you all later.